this video will be a little different than the previous videos. This time, we're not installing a mod, we're modifying the traders ourselves. If you set up your server using my server install tutorial, you already have everything you need for this. If you didn't, then you'll need to download a database editor, something like MySQL Workbench, and you'll have to make sure that you have your XAMPP and things like that to run MySQL. Now, the first part of this video is how to add items to traders. So if you want to add a new item that doesn't exist to that trader. And the last part will be a short tutorial on how to modify prices, which is relatively easy, but I'm throwing that in there in case someone needs it. And if you do need that, you can click at the bottom of the screen right now to skip to the price modification section. The first thing you need to do is open up your MySQL Workbench and XAMPP. Now, MySQL Workbench may take a little bit of time to start up. When you have XAMPP open, make sure you start the MySQL module there. And then, while we're waiting for the Workbench to start up, go into your server files, and you need to go into your missions section down here in the MP missions and go to whichever mission you're using. Now when you're in here, you need to open up the server traders file. This is just going to be for reference. You won't be modifying anything in this, so you can just set that to the side. Now I'm going to explain a little bit about this, that way you understand what's going on here. You can see that each trader is labeled. So this is a hero vendor, and this is the weapons friendly, all of that stuff. Now some of them may have similar names because there may be 2 friendly traders or 2 neutral traders. It depends on your map, and yours won't look exactly like mine, but it doesn't matter. It'll still work just the same. And you can see that this shows what each one sells. So this ammunition friendly trader sells rifle ammo, machine gun ammo, all of that stuff. These numbers are important, and we'll get to that soon. So that's just the basics of this file and what it is. We'll need to add an item to a trader. So let's say we want to add the radio to traders. Some mods use the radio, and we might just need it, such as a group management mod or something like that. And the radio is a toolbelt item. So we're going to want to add it to the traders that sell toolbelt items. Well, you know that there are 3 cities that sell toolbelt items. The 3 traders that are safe zoned normally. So what you'll need to do this is, there's a little bit of MySQL code that will be available in the description of this video. You're going to need to go and copy that. We'll need it soon. I've got mine conveniently set up over here because I've used this previously for working on servers. Oops. And it will be in the description of the video, so go grab that now. When you have it, you'll need to come back to your MySQL Workbench and open up your server. So just click on your banner there and it should open up. And what you'll need to do is look on the left here and make sure that your server database is selected. Expand the tables and open up trader data. Not the one with the 2, just the normal. And to do this, you just right click and select rows, limit 1000, the first option. And that will display something like this. You don't need to display this stuff, but it does help in the long run, and you'll see why. But it isn't required to put in the code. Now if you had trouble opening up MySQL Workbench, like you get a panel that shows that MySQL isn't running, you can just make sure that your XAMPP is running MySQL, and then either restart Workbench or press a little refresh button that will show up. That's most likely not going to be an issue for you guys, but it might to every few people. It happens if you don't have MySQL running at the time that you try to access the database for the server. So now that we're here, go ahead and expand all of these slots so that you can see everything. It's not required, but it's going to be useful to us. here soon. This may be a small issue for you depending on your monitor size, so you may want to try watching this video on a separate device if you need to, or you can just not expand all of these. It's up to you, but for the sake of the video I'm going to do that so you guys can see everything that's going on. Now with the code that you just copied, delete what's at the top here and paste in what you just copied. I'm going to resize my windows. Now, this part of the code doesn't matter to you. You don't need to worry about this. This is just standard SQL code that's telling it what to do. Now, this is what you're going to be editing here. This is the only part you need to modify. Each one of these sections divided by commas is displayed here as well, so it tells you what they are. The first is the item, quantity, buy, sell, order, trader ID, and the A file, and I'll explain all of those. So as it is now, I've got an item radio already set up. But let's just say for the sake of the tutorial that we don't have anything here yet. We still need to figure out what we're adding, and let's just get rid of everything. You don't need to do that. I'm just doing it so that you guys can see what's going on. So we want to add an item radio. That's the name of the item itself, is item radio. Now the item has to be within brackets. And in that, the item name needs to be inside quotes. So we know that it's called item radio. If you look down here, you can see that these are the items right here. And you can see that they are also in this format. There are brackets, and then there's the item name inside of quotes. This is going to be the same for any item you're adding. After that, we need to put a comma, and then you can see that there are numbers here. Well, what number do you use? That part is a little less clear than which item name you need to use. And to figure that out, the easiest way is to first think about what you're adding. We're adding an item radio. The radio is a tool belt item. So let's come back to this file and find out who sells tool belt items. So I'm just going to search for tool. We can see that this person down here is selling a tool belt item at 510. So 510 is the trader ID. We're going to need that number. So sort it by TID, which is trader ID, and look for 510. Down here we can see that all of these are 510, so all of these items are sold by the same trader. We can see that all tool belt items have a number of 3, which is their type. That number is just type, it's 1, 2, or 3. I believe weapons are 3, items are 1, and vehicles are 2. Since all of these are 3 for the tool belt item, we can just throw 3 in there. If you know if it's an item, a weapon, or a vehicle, you can just put 1, 2, or 3. As I said before, items are 1, vehicles are 2, and weapons are 3. But if you don't know, like I did just now, check for the trader ID, and then just see what everything else there has. All of these are 3, so we know it's a 3. So now we have our item set up. As you can see, that portion is the item. Now we have quantity. Quantity is just a number. So how many do we want in there? We can do 10 like all the others, or if we don't care, we just want it to be a high number, we can throw a few 9s in there. That's all up to you. If yours never runs out, if you have it set up so that you never have to worry about the traders running out of items, just throw a bunch of 9s in there, it doesn't matter. Now the next part here is buy. So this is the price that the player will buy it for from the trader. So how much do we want them to pay for this item? Well, let's say that we want it to cost 3 gold bars. Again, we're going to need brackets. So set up your brackets. How many gold bars do we want? I said 3, so put in the number 3. The first number is the number of the item you want it to cost. The next is the item name. And if you don't know item names, you can always check here in the buy and sell. They're all already listed. You just find whichever one you're looking for. And we can see that the gold bar is right here for item gold bar. And remember, that is also in quotes, just like the item name from the last one. And then a comma, and again, this is the item type. All gold and other currency types are set at the item type of 1. So this will always be 1. You have to do this because you can make players buy stuff for anything other than gold as well. You could make this cost 2 soda cans if you like. I'm only going to go over through using money because that's what you're all probably going to do, but it's a fun little thing to consider. Next we have the sell price. Again, it's the same format, so let's go ahead and just copy this and paste it over here. So how much do we want the player to gain from selling this off to a trader? Normally, when choosing buy and sell prices, you want the sell price to be half or less. And half of 3 is 1.5. So we're just going to make it 1. The player will buy this item for 3 gold bars and receive 1 gold bar for selling it. Now the next thing we have is the order. Always set order to 0. There's no reason to understand what it's for or anything like that. Just put 0 there. And then next we have the TID, which again is the trader ID. As we discussed before, we found that the tool belt items for this map, this is a Chernarus map, you will have a different ID number for any other map. The other maps could be anything. So don't use this number unless you're using Chernarus like I am. You'll have to find it yourself by just opening up the server trader file and search for tool. So for this tool belt items, it's 510. So the trader ID here should be written in as 510. Now the A file is again one of the tricky things to figure out. The best thing is to just look down here. We know it's a weapon already. At least I do. Some of you might not know, but tool belt items are weapons. So it's going to use the weapon A file. If you don't know what it is, again, look for the trader ID. We'll find that all the other tool belt items are here, and we'll see that their A file are all trade weapons. So let's go ahead and just copy that and paste it up in here. Now we've completed the code to add a radio to the tool belt seller with the ID of 510. Well, we needed it 2 other traders still. As I've said, there are 3 tool belt traders. 1 in each of the safe zone traders. There's your neutral, your friendly, and whatever the other one is. Remember that we need 3 traders. We've only done 1 of them. If we just stopped here and we added this, then only 1 trader would be selling the tool belt items, and your players would have to always go to that 1 town to get it. Now this is fine if that's what you want, but personally in my server I want this to be available at all 3 traders. That way, you don't have to worry about if there's campers at 1, they're screwed out of the item. So what we're going to do is go ahead and copy this, return, and just paste it 2 more times. So now we have 3 versions of this. Well, we need to find out what other traders sell the tool belt item. We know 510 sells it. Who else does? That's when we go back to our file here in the server traders. As we searched before, we found that the tool belt item is at 510. Well, find next again. We can see that there's actually another one, the friendly building parts, and his number is 532. So we're going to need that number in here. So we now have 510 and 532. All you have to do is change the trader ID for the second one there. Let's go back and find the next one. We found another, which is the neutral building parts. And that ID is 663. If we look again, we go back up to the other neutral, so there's the 510 guy again. So that shows that we've only got 3 different traders, 510, 532, and 663. So let's throw 663 in here. And as you can see, we now have this set up for 3 different traders. That's all you have to do to add it to the extra traders, is just change that number. So we've got it set up for 510, 532, and 663. When you've got that set up, you just come over here to the top left and select this lightning bolt. It will do its thing. Mine's got to access an external drive, so it's going to run a little slow here for a second. But there it is. And if you look down here in our output console, you'll see that it successfully, with the check mark, added these items in the rows. If there's a red X here, then that means that it didn't work and there's something wrong with the code. But mine shows that the code is perfectly fine. If you did get a red X, pause the video and check yours against my code. Or you can check it against the code in the description. The description will have this exact code. That way you can at least have a visual aid on what's going on there. And now that we've added them, let's go ahead and check to make sure that they're in. So you right click, select rows, and then let's check for it. Now, this is where things are going to get a little weird. If you do check for 510 here, it's not going to show up. There's something that I really should have mentioned a little bit earlier, is that this only shows the first 1,000 entries. As you can see, the limit is 1,000. And you can see that we don't see the new item radio here. Well, there are other pages. If you see here, it says fetch rows. This one is previous and this one is next. So let's go to the next page, and we're still sorted by trader ID. Or wait, no, we're not. Let's go ahead and resort it and find 510. So here's the remainder of 510, and we have our item radio right here. I'm not entirely sure exactly why Workbench does things like this. I figured that it should sort across all pages, but it doesn't. I'm not entirely sure why. If any of you guys know what causes that or how to fix it, just let me know and I'll probably throw out some information on that to everyone. But if you don't find it on the first page, you can go to the next page, and this page is empty because there's nothing here. So if we go back, you'll see that this page ends before the 1,000 mark. But that's how you check each page, and as you can tell, we did get item radio into the traders. So this part of it is done. Now, I'm going to throw in a short explanation on changing prices on items that already exist real fast because it's really short. Now, if you skip to this part of the video, make sure to open up XAMPP, start MySQL inside of XAMPP, open your Workbench, and select your database from the Workbench front panel. On the left side, make sure your DayZ Epoch database is selected, and go ahead, right click Trader Data and select Rows, and that will show us all of our items. Now, going to expand all of this so that we can see, and let's choose something to change the price of. So what do we want to change the price of? Let's say the SUV. SUVs, I believe, are default to 10 ounces. Well, let's say we want them to be 1 10 ounce. Make it a little cheaper for people. And the easiest way to do that is to, if you know the name, just run a filter for it right here in this little white box. I'm just going to type SUV. It's not the exact name of what we're looking for, but it should come up right. And just press enter. And now it shows us all of our SUVs. So these are all the SUVs. If you see null down here, that means that there is no second page. So if we tried to switch pages, it would just be a bunch of nulls. That means there's nothing there. Don't worry about it. So now we're here, and let's go ahead and sort by price. All of these are your standard SUVs. This one's a Civ, but It's no big deal. So these are all your buyable SUVs. Now it's your responsibility to go through and check and make sure that these are the ones you want to change. I know that all of these are just standard SUVs. You know, TK Civ, all that stuff, orange, green, they're just colored. These two are the armored versions. I want those to stay expensive. We wanted to change the SUV prices to be a little bit cheaper. And they all start at 2 10-ounces. Well, like I said, I want to make them 1 10-ounce gold. So I'm going to change the first one. You can just click in the cell and change it. Now, all of these are the same price. I want to change all of them to the same price. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this. There is one thing that I do want to keep expensive is a camo. The camo is a nice one and I want it to stay expensive. So I'm going to change everything but that. So click in the cell you want to change up here and then just press Ctrl V and that will change it. Now, the fastest way to do this by hand is just press the down arrow and Ctrl V. So I'm just going to keep pressing down and Ctrl V all the way up until I hit camo. This is my camo. I want to keep it the same price, so I'm going to skip it. Oops. Messed up there. If you hold Control and press an arrow key, it's going to jump a page on you. So just be careful. Oops, I changed the camo. There are other ways of doing this that are a bit faster. You can also do it with the code, but I suggest against it unless you know what you're doing. It's a little too much to try to explain to everyone that probably won't know what's going on. Oh wait, that's another camo. I didn't realize there were 2 camos. Oh yeah, of course. I should have sorted by name, because there are a few camos. Just remember, like I didn't, that there are a number of different camos, and there will typically be a number of entries for other items because there may be more than one trader that sells it. Like there are 4 traders that sell the yellow SUV, 4 that sell the white. Now, one major thing to remember is if you change the buy price, you need to change the sell price. I personally like to have it about exactly half of the buy price. And these are already 5 gold bars, which is half of a 10-ounce. So I'm going to leave those the same. I also want the SUV camos, which there are 4 of as well, to be half of the full price, which they already are. So that's it for this. So we just changed the price of all these SUVs. Now, there's one very important thing you have to do after editing the prices. And if you don't do it, everything's going to go away. You need to come down here to the bottom right of the screen, wherever it is. It's going to be under your list here. So it depends on how your stuff is set up, but it will always be directly under the list. And you need to click that apply button. And then this says that it committed record set changes, which means it's fine. And now our changes will have taken effect. We can search again for the SUV if we like to make sure. And we can also just run another check, or we can reset everything, run a refresh, check again just to be sure if you like. And we can see that a lot of them are at 1 item gold bar, so we're good. But it is very important to remember that apply button. If you don't do it, all of your changes are gone, and you just wasted that time on it. The apply button only has to be pressed when you do manual changes in the cell sheet here like I just did. And the little cancel button there is if you mess up. So let's say that I screwed up in, I don't know, let's say I screwed up and accidentally put an item name. Copy. There we go. So let's just say I screwed up and accidentally pasted the wrong stuff in. You press that cancel button and it goes away. And that's basically it for this video. You know everything that you need to modify traders by changing the cost and adding new items to them. That's everything for this video. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and throw them in the comments. I try to answer everything I can.